Hey guys, how's it going? It's Phoenix. So pretty much a bit of a different thing. This is Russian video that I'll actually breaking down slash just touching on. So nothing violent, nothing bad's happening, just kind of interesting. So pretty much it's a little bit of context and then I'll explain some stuff afterwards. Pretty much you can see the title is that this is happening obviously during the Russian-Ukraine war. It's still going on. People are getting arrested for peaceful protesting in Russia. This obviously happened in Novosibirsk, Russia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. You can make fun of me. I don't care. So let's go ahead and watch it, and then I'll explain quite a bit of other stuff later on, just to give some context and give some reason behind this. So you can see he's literally just standing here with a blank piece of paper. Not yelling, not obscenities. You can also see the okay, so pausing it, you can see that the officer, or the Russian police officer, he asked for his papers. So pretty much in Russia it works a little differently than the US, so keep that in mind. Like, it's not like complete freedom of speech, not complete like freedom of movement kind of thing. So in Russia you actually have to have papers on you at all time. I believe by when you're the age of 14 and up, you have to have like some identification on you. Even when you're a tourist, you have to have something on you, like a passport and like identification, or like a worker's like green card, just all the time, just so that they know you're you and that you're like not who you're saying you are. So just some context of why he's asking for like papers, even if he hasn't done anything illegal. Like, they can just stop whoever they want, unlike the US where they have to have like probable cause. Also, if you can't hear it very well, it is quite quiet, and it's just built-in subtitles, or just written subtitles. So right there, I like this out right there. So you can see in the subtitles, he's kind of like, it's kind of interesting because he's not really answering the question. He's kind of deflecting, because you can obviously tell he's there because he's protesting. Like, it's something that's been going on. They've been like, people will hold rallies with just blank posters and just walk around Russia with blank posters, and it's pretty much just a way to say that like they don't want war, they don't want protests, they don't want any of this. And so, but it is just kind of interesting that he like did deflect the question, didn't want to answer it, because he knew that he was like probably gonna get in trouble or probably gonna get like arrested. So just kind of interesting, just thinking of this. So pretty much, guys, just explaining that he's in violation of some code that they have, and that he's pretty much gonna get arrested if he doesn't stop. So yeah, he just called what he's doing an illegal activity, which is quite interesting. Yeah, doesn't really care or doesn't want to. And is immediately taken away. Yeah. Yep, that's how they took him. It doesn't matter. Pretty interesting. Without any slogans at all. Yeah. So, that's that. So I'll just stop right here. So, a couple of things I'd like to touch on. One, in the US, you can, because obviously US and Russia are very, very different places. One, in the US, you could like pretty much have anything on a sign. Like, you can probably have like swearing on a sign, as long as it's not like too bad, and you could probably get away with it. And they won't arrest you unless it's like something horrible, like, I don't know, a swastika or something. But a couple of like facts and like analytics I was looking at. One was that there is an analytic that I saw come up in an article when I was reading about this, was that Americans trust, it was 69% of Americans, it's kind of interesting, 69% of Americans trust police officers, while only some 57% of Russians trust police officers. Now, police officers in Russia, there's obviously like a lot of corruption in Russia, and like that's like just a fact, like that is just something that happens. And like, yeah, obviously there's some in like America, but it is very more prevalent, a lot more prevalent in Russia, and that's just something that happens. And so it's only 57, and it's actually decreased by 2% since the war has actually started. So they took it like 6 months before the Russian-Ukraine war, and they've taken that again, and it's decreased. So, which is kind of like, I guess that kind of makes sense. Also, under the Article 31 of the Constitution, adopted in 1931 in the Russian Federation, it says, citizens of the Russian Federation shall have the right to gather peacefully without weapons and to hold meetings, rallies, demonstrations, marches, and pickets. Not sure what a picket is. It's like old people making constitutions, like back in the 70s, back in the 90s. But, so pretty much under their own rights or their own constitution in a way, they're allowed to do this. They're allowed to hold rallies. They're allowed to hold marches. They're allowed to do these kind of things. And obviously me talking about this isn't going to do anything. People in Russia will literally get whole accounts taken down and whole social media pages and stuff taken down for making fun of Putin. Like, that's just a thing that happens. It's quite interesting to look at. Like, I've seen videos and stuff of people like making fun of Putin's height, and they get their like crap taken down. Like, that's insane, but it is something that happens. So there's another article that was written, and they actually interviewed peaceful protesters that had been arrested, peacefully protesting, and then they had been arrested, and then like talked about like their mistreatment while being arrested. Like there were reports of like torture, of sexual harassment, stuff like that. So a couple of things that happened. So saying the police used excessive force against protesters while detaining them, and in several instances inflicted abusive amounts to torture or inhumane and degrading treatment on those in custody, according to OVD Info, the leading human rights project working to protect freedom of assembly in Russia. 13,500 people have been arbitrarily arrested since Russia started its full-scale invasion in Ukraine on February 24th. That's a lot of people. 13,500 people. It's quite a lot of people. So, and then the next, the next one reads that in St. Petersburg, which is a town, I believe you'd call it in Russia, between 4 and 6 police officers were filmed beating a man pinned to the ground with batons, and then appeared to administer electric shocks to him. The man is shouting that he is not a protester and was simply passing by. The use of electric shock weapon on a person clearly in police custody violates the prohibition on torture and other cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment. Detainees reported sustaining cuts, bruises, and electric burns. One protester allegedly suffered a concussion, and another an open laceration on his head allegedly inflicted during his arrest. Some detainees were hospitalized. So this is kind of interesting because we saw this when there were not so peaceful riots in places like Chicago and New York and LA. But this was because they were not super peaceful and they were like rioting. But this is with peaceful protesters, which is quite interesting, and people literally just passing by and then just getting tackled to the ground and beating the crap out of them. So it's kind of interesting to see like the parallel, but then also the similarity of police in these different countries, whether you think it's an abuse of power or it's just they just have power and they're just using it like non-abusively. So there was an interview with a young lady from Moscow, her name is Marina Morozova. She's 22. She was arrested for allegedly participating in the anti-war protests, and took her to the police station. I'm not going to say the name of the place, first of all, because I can't pronounce it. That's the main reason. She was able to discreetly make an audio recording inside the station. In the audio, which she later shared with the independent media outlet, 3 police officers can be heard questioning her. One unidentified policeman was especially aggressive, insulting her, punching her in the head, threatening to shoot her, smash the chair into her head. Yeah, so they pretty much threatened to then rape her and abuse her and do a lot of horrible things to her in the audio recording. Like, that's not even like a testament, like a testimony thing. Like, that's like a very obvious audio recording. And then it goes on to say that in the audio recording, it's not an actual audio recording, it's just a like written article that I found, which if I can find it again, I'll link it and like you can read it yourself because it's quite an interesting article to read. But it's like detailing how they were like saying that Putin doesn't care, like we work for Putin and like we'll get like a bonus for doing whatever and like taking you off the streets because obviously Russia is in this war and Russia like wants to be in this war because they're invading Ukraine and obviously peaceful protesters don't want war. So that's everything. Kind of interesting that people are getting arrested for blank sheets of paper, but then again, we can't do anything. I can't do anything. It's not anything in my wheelhouse. It's not anything I can do anything about, but it is just something that I wanted to bring to light if you didn't know anything about, and it's something that I found interesting. So yeah, have a good day.